Before we get too far into the video, I do just want to let you guys know that you can still use my creator code on both the EA app and the Sims.com. Currently, there is a huge sale on Sims packs where you can save up to 85% off, I believe. So, I mean, if I was you and you had your eye on something, I feel like now is a really good time to go and grab it. If you do use my creator code, for full disclosure, I do earn a small commission fee off your purchase. Now, unfortunately, this isn't a discount code. I really wish it was, but it's just a free way to help support me and the channel. And I also did just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has used my code so far. I appreciate you and I love you all so much, and it genuinely warms my heart just knowing that you've thought about me when purchasing your Sims packs. But because I've mentioned all of this, I do just want to say that this video is sponsored by Electronic Arts, and so thank you to EA for sponsoring today's video and giving me a creator code. But anyway, let's get into the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Mount Komorebi, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack The Sims 4 Snowy Escape, and I'm going to be building a set of apartment complexes that also kind of double up to be somewhat community lot venues. So this lot ends up having 2 apartment complexes, or 2 separate apartment buildings. Each building has 3 apartments, so in total you're going to be seeing me do 6 separate apartments today. We also end up having a convenience store, we have a community gym, we also have a laundromat on this lot, as well as little things like there's a mail room, there is also like a maintenance room, and then on one of the top of the buildings your Sims can kind of like go up there and chill out and do some gardening, sit down, have a chit chat and stuff. It's really cool. But this week I finally sat down and I built some sort of apartment duplex, which I think this is my first time doing something like this since we had the 4 rent expansion pack with all the different packs in my game, because I feel very fortunate enough to say that when the 4 rent expansion pack came out, I got early access to it, and so I did build an apartment complex with my early access. But since then I've built so many different other things with the 4 rent feature. I've built like British semi-detached houses or terraced houses or multiple houses on one lot, or I've built like New York brownstone. So I've built all these different things, but I just haven't really sat down and just built an apartment duplex, and so that's exactly what I did. And I really hope you guys like it. But anyway, getting on from that and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I've pretty much already figured out the main shape for apartment duplex 1 or complex 1. I don't know what to class it as, but we end up having 2. This is the one that goes on the right hand side, and this is the one that I started basically figuring out the shape for. And then once I figured out the basic shape, I wanted to add a few little like tiny details here and there. I find that sometimes when I build, if I'm just staring at blank squares and blocks and there's nothing going on, like there's no decorations, I really struggle. And so you can see that I'm basically coming in and just going, yep, we could do an event over there, a few parts would look lovely over there. Like, I'm just trying to add in some details and a little bit of like personality to the build. So for this apartment, like I said, both of the buildings, like both of the duplexes, have 3 apartments in them. This one ends up having 1 kind of in the basement area. You're seeing I'm coming in right now and I'm figuring out the floor plan and stuff, but there ends up being 1 apartment on like the ground floor, then there ends up being another 2 above it, and then this is the apartment duplex that has almost like a little sky garden area. Like your Sims can go up there, they can listen to some music, they can do some gardening. I placed down some like little fairy lights. It's really pretty, and if I was a Sim I'd like to just chill out up there because you've got views of the mountains in the distance of Mount Komorebi. It's very picturesque. But for this apartment duplex, I tried to make it so every single apartment is decorated differently from one another. Where I'm building 6, I couldn't just do the same thing over and over again. I needed to have a little bit of range. I needed to switch it up. I couldn't be building in the same style for every single apartment. And so for this apartment, there ends up being quite a messy, quite slobbish apartment in the basement. I was personally thinking the local maintenance guy lives there. I was thinking that he's quite a slob. he hadn't really been able to hold down a job for that long. But then I was thinking he could be friends with the landlord, like he could be mates and really pally with the person that owns these apartment complexes. And I was thinking maybe he reached out to him and said, look, I know that you're looking for a job or something. You can be the maintenance person in my complex, just make sure everything's up and running, and if there's a leaky pipe, go and fix it. Just do the general maintenance, the general upkeep, and you can live in the apartment complex for free. You do live in the basement. It's not the nicest views, but it's free rent, might as well. And so the first apartment in apartment duplex number 1 ends up being quite slobbish. The one above it, I tried to make for a set of university students. Now, typically in the past, whenever I do like university student builds, I do tend to go down like the messy party route, which I didn't want to do for that apartment. I tried to make it into, like the clean girl aesthetic. Tried to do that for the apartment building, but I was imagining that 2 young students lived there. I was personally thinking they were both girls, and they've got this like really girly, student apartment. And then the one above it ends up being a apartment that I decorated for a single man who I was thinking is a personal trainer. And also, by the way, with all the different Sims in these like duplexes with the apartment buildings, I tried to make it so they all kind of like connect with each other, and they've all got some sort of like relationship or potential like crush on one another. But I'll tell you about that when I actually give you the full rundown of what else is going on, because currently, as you can see, I've started building apartment shape number 2. So on the inside of this one, we end up having the convenience store, the mailroom, the community gym, and then also the laundromat, all on the first floor, or like the ground floor. And then above it, we end up having another 3 apartments. The first apartment I decorated to be for a grandma, or just like an elderly lady who lives with her teenage granddaughter. I was thinking that maybe something happened and the teenager had to come and move in with her nan, and she just lives there with her granddaughter. It's decorated quite, I don't want to say old-fashioned, because the actual building itself, I was very aware that it looks quite modern on the exterior. So then on the inside, I didn't want to make it like really old and like looks like run-down wallpaper that was like put up on the walls in like the 70s or something. So I tried to make it still like an older lady's apartment, but still somewhat modern, if that makes any sense. Not modern, you'll see what I mean. But anyway, in that one, we end up having a grandma and a teenager. And then in the apartment above that one, we end up having a little single fashion girly. I was thinking someone that's maybe in like the style influencer career, or maybe they're really big on Simstagram and they've got loads of followers and stuff. I must admit, it's very stereotypically girl coded, but I think it's my favourite one. If I was a Sim, I'd want to live in that apartment. It's like, it is 1 bed and 1 bathroom, but there was an option for a second bedroom, but I decided to make it into her office, and she's got this like beautiful floor to ceiling window, all this natural light comes in. She's got like a little computer desk in there. It's just very pretty in that one. But on the final apartment on the top floor of that complex, we end up having a small apartment, but for quite a big family. It ends up being a 3-bed, 1 bath, very cramped apartment, but it ends up being able to sleep 5 Sims in there. I was personally thinking a set of parents, 2 kids, and then also another university student. But this university student mainly lives at home, and so they don't have like their own little apartment, or they don't have any sort of like university housing or something. It's another uni student. Like I said, we've got 2 other university students in the other complex, but this one, just lives at home with their family. But that's kind of like the baseline overview for all the different Sims that live in each one of the individual apartment units. I do want to mention, by the way, when I was building this, I built this to be a normal, typical residential. Technically, your Sim, if they was to move into this lot straight away, if you download it off the gallery, they would own every single one of the units. But my idea is that once you download this off the gallery, if you do decide that you fancy it and you want to play on it, you would have to change it over to be a residential rental. I've done this for pretty much every single residential rental that I've built so far, just because for some reason they're still a bit buggy in the game. Like, apparently when you download residential rentals off the gallery, it's breaking people's games. I don't want to break your game. So whenever I build residential rentals or some sort of lot that has multiple different units for multiple different households in it, I will always build it as a typical box standard residential house. And then my idea is, once you've got it in your game and you've downloaded it from the gallery, then you can safely switch over to be a residential rental. I think as well, when building in residential rentals, it's still quite buggy and like the game goes a bit slow. And so, yeah, if you look at this on the gallery and you're thinking, hang on, why is this like a normal residential? I did it on purpose. I just don't want to break your game. But yeah, that was kind of like the general overview for all the different Sims. Now, when I was building, I was trying to think about all the different scenarios and all the different Sims and how they could potentially know each other or like have some sort of relationship with one another, because where I'm building, I'm actually building on quite a small lot. Off memory, I think this is a 30 by 20. If it's wrong, it'll be in the build description below this video, but I normally like to list every single pack that I've used, every single, like all the different information that you might want to know. I list it, but yeah, I think I'm building on a 30 by 20 and I was able to fit 6 apartments plus multiple different community venue types, like the laundromat, we've got a convenience store, we've got a gym. Like, I was quite impressed with the amount of stuff that I was able to fit on just this small little 30 by 20. But I'm thinking it's such a small and quite compact space. The Sims, they're going to know each other. Like, they're going to have some sort of knowledge of each other's existence. And then I started going down the idea of, well, what about if a few Sims fancy each other, but they fancy other people in the apartment complex? It ends up being, I was about to say a bit of a love triangle, but a triangle's only got 3 sides, isn't it? So it's more like a love pentagon or like a hexagon or something, because there is multiple different Sims involved in just this one aspect of the storyline that I was thinking. But I basically started off thinking that, you know, the teenager that lives with their grandma, I was thinking got a big crush on their upstairs neighbour, which their upstairs neighbour is the university student that still lives at home with their family. It's very much just like a high school kind of crush. Nothing's ever going to develop over it. I mean, they're a teenager and the other person involved is a student, but I was thinking it might be really fun if, you know, like when you're 15 you might have like a massive celebrity crush or something. That kind of idea was what I was thinking. But I was thinking that the teenager that lives with their grandma, really well kept, really reserved, quite a shy Sim. I tried to decorate their bedroom to be very like anime kind of inspired, because we've got a lot of different things in the game that kind of bend towards that idea. And so yeah, their bedroom ends up being like a massive fangirl bedroom, but it was really cool. But yeah, I was imagining they really have this massive crush on their upstairs neighbour who is a student, but they have a crush on one of the other students that is in the second apartment building. Now, like I said, in the first apartment building that I built, on the first floor, or like the first set of stairs that you go up, that ends up being an apartment for 2 students. I tried to decorate it more like clean girl aesthetic-ish. It's still like a university student's housing, but I feel like in the past, whenever I do university student housing, I always go down a bit of a messy route. I always typically tend to make it a bit of a tip. You know, there's bin bags everywhere, there's random pizza boxes and stuff. I didn't want that to be the case for their apartment. It's very clean girl aesthetic, but then still, it's still fun. Like, I still imagine them to be party people, but, you know, they just clean up before they go to bed, if you get what I mean. But yeah, I was imagining that the student in the other apartment complex fancies one of these students that lives in the first duplex, but I was imagining that one of them has the biggest crush on their upstairs neighbour that is the personal trainer. I feel like saying crush is severely underplaying it, actually. It's not even, like, they fancy the absolute pants off their upstairs neighbour, which their neighbour is the personal trainer. Now, I'm thinking that they go to the gym purposely just to run into him because, you know, they're a PT. They spend literally their whole entire life in the gym because they like to work out for a hobby, but then they also work out for a job, and, you know, they probably train other people. They probably have clients that they give PT lessons to, and, yeah, I imagine that one of the students really fancies and just is so in love with their upstairs neighbour, probably never even spoken to them. When I was building, I was trying to think of all different kind of like gameplay things that you could do if you really wanted to follow along with this storyline, and something that I thought of, which to be honest is quite silly, but I feel like if you're just so in love with someone and you just want to kind of be within their presence and, you know, you want them to notice you, you try and go to all different lengths to try and get them to even acknowledge your existence. But for the student's apartment, I made it so it's quite modernised out of all of the rest of them. I was thinking before the students moved in, it was probably a really rundown, really just like grubby apartment, had really bad appliances, the old tenants were just not the best, and, you know, before the students moved in, the landlord probably thought, tell you what, I'm going to put in a new kitchen, I'm going to give you a washing machine and a tumble dryer. It's actually going to probably benefit them more because I'm thinking it'll probably increase their rent. But I was thinking I'll make that apartment so if they don't want to, they never have to use the laundromat. But then I was thinking it might actually be really fun because the PT Sim doesn't have a washing machine and a tumble dryer within their apartment. Only a few of the apartments do, one of them being the students' one. But I was thinking, where they're just so in love with this sim, they would purposely go to use a laundromat that is on this lot to just run in to their upstairs neighbour. That's how much they're in love with this sim. I just thought it was a really nice idea. So yeah, that is kind of like the storyline for one of the students. The other student, I was thinking, really fancies that style influencer girly. Big crush on them, but they're not the only sim within this whole entire complex that fancies them, because I was also thinking the PT really fancies this style influencer sim. And so yeah, it's not even a triangle, is it? It's more like a hexagon, because it's got more than, it's got like 6 different sims in this whole entire situation. But yeah, that was just kind of like one of the storylines that I was thinking that you could play through if you wanted to get your sims to live here. Of course, it goes without saying, if you don't fancy that kind of gameplay, then you, by no means, you don't actually have to do it. But when I was building, I just thought it was really fun. And then you can kind of have all these different sims interact with each other, and you could have some sims be really shy around other people. I also imagine, by the way, the PT is probably this really big, confident, I was imagining quite a buff guy. Like, he goes to the gym quite a lot, you know, he's got some muscles. But I was thinking he's very confident until he gets around the sim that he fancies, which was the girly style influencer. And so, yeah, I just thought it'd be really fun for gameplay. Also as well, actually, I don't know where to sprinkle this in, but I was thinking, you know, the grandma that lives in one of the apartments, I was thinking she really fancies the maintenance guy. Maintenance guy wants absolutely nothing to do with that. I mean, I was imagining the maintenance guy to maybe be in his like mid-40s, probably never had a girlfriend, probably never even wants a girlfriend. I imagine that he just likes watching telly, he likes playing video games, he likes ordering takeout. In his apartment, by the way, I tried to make it look like he's got takeout menus like stuck to one of the walls, and I was imagining that he's just so in his own world. But yeah, the grandma that lives in one of the apartment units really fancies him, and maybe often purposely breaks stuff so he has to come and fix it or something. I don't know, I just thought it was really fun. I imagine that everyone also gets along with the grandma as well. I feel like the elderly lady that lives in one of the apartments is just kind of like the neighbourhood's nan, if you get what I mean. Like, she often bakes stuff for the convenience store that is in her apartment building. She probably always helps people out. If they say, if someone's got like a hole in one of their jumpers or something, they'll be like, oh, just take it to, say her name's Margaret, I don't know where I got Margaret from, but take it to Margaret, she'll sew it up for you. Like, I imagine she's just like a really nice lady, but yeah, she really fancies the maintenance guy. But anyway, moving on from that and actually finally getting back on and talking about what I'm doing right now. Sorry, I just kind of went on a bit of a ramble there, but I had this whole entire thing like listed out in my head. I just needed to share it quickly because I didn't want to forget any of the information. But as we go throughout all the different apartments, I'll kind of like add to each one of the Sims personalities, so then you can kind of see it come to life, if you want to put it that way. But currently, as you can see, I am actually just going around and finishing up the whole entire exterior of the apartment complex. Now, near the end of the video, I do go back and basically add in a truck that looks like it's been driven out of one of the garages, but you will see that at the end, on the exterior of all the buildings, I end up placing down a few different bike racks. We also have a few different garbage bins. The ones that I've placed down, by the way, they're the ones that we got from the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack, and I purposely placed them down because your Sims, they can nap in there, they can also dumpster dive in there, like they can find stuff in there, but if they want to, they can also woohoo in them dumpsters, and I placed down a few of them. So your Sims, if they want to, they have got a few options. Also, actually, I placed down some graffiti as well on to some of the walls, and then also I placed down a few different vending machines, so your Sims can go and get them little like sim collectible things that are called simmies. They can also get some hot food and some drink and stuff. There is some gameplay exterior wise outside of the buildings, but currently, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside, and I've started off with the apartment building that I kind of figured out the shape for first of all. So this is the one on the right hand side. So currently, as you can see, I'm just coming in and figuring out this little like maintenance room thing. I'm thinking it's where the boiler is, it's where the power generator is, it's where, you know, if there is a spanner that needs to be used somewhere on the lot, like something's broken, it's where the tools are kept. I just basically imagine it to be a bit of like a maintenance room for the maintenance guy that also lives on the same floor. So this apartment building, by the way, just to kind of like recap, this one ends up having the maintenance guy, the 2 students, and then the personal trainer in it. And to start off with, I kind of came in and figured out like the initial hallway situation. We ended up having like a little side table, also the mailboxes. I then just popped into the maintenance room, got that kind of figured out, and now as you can see, I've now come in and started decorating the first apartment, which is just for the maintenance guy. So in here you can see that ends up being quite grubby already. I use this wallpaper which we got from the City Living expansion pack purposely because if you look at it, it looks like it's really like grubby around the end of it, because the wallpaper itself, it's got some sort of like wall paneling on the bottom, but then on the top bit it looks like paint or wallpaper, but just above where the wall paneling is, it looks like it's got like a layer of thick filth. It's the only way that I can describe it, but I felt like it was perfect for this sim because I do imagine him to be a bit of a lazy slob. Currently I'm just fiddling about with all the different kitchen counters, just basically trying to get the shape of what the kitchen was going to end up being. It pretty much just ends up staying like this, so I end up using the kitchen counters that we got from the City Living expansion pack. I also used the oven and the fridge that also came from City Living, again purposely, because if you look at them, they look like they've seen better days. Like they've got rust on them. It looks like, to be honest, they belong in the bin. They're the cheapest ones that we've got in the game, but they're perfect if you're someone in like a really rundown apartment, you haven't got a ton of money, you know, you're just starting out, and these kind of appliances are kind of perfect for that. But also in this kitchen, I end up placing a telly in the corner of the room, which I never seem to do that, but I don't know if it was just me, but that's quite common for me anyway, to have a TV in your kitchen. I don't know if anyone else is going to relate to this, but growing up, we always had a tiny little telly, and when I say a tiny little telly, I'm talking like a box TV in my kitchen, because the kitchen in my household is like my mum's main hotspot. Like if you're ever looking for my mum, just go in the kitchen. Like, even if she's not doing any kitchen-y bit, like, even if she's not cooking, she's just doing her Duolingo or something, standing in the kitchen with TV in the background. And so, to me, it's quite common to have a TV in a kitchen, but I've noticed that I don't really ever seem to do it in my Sims builds. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to add into the kitchen corner. I was going to do a radio station, but then I felt like the sim that lives in this apartment, the maintenance guy, is a bit of a slob. You know, he doesn't really clean up for himself. You can kind of see that from the state of his apartment, but I'm thinking that he probably doesn't really listen to that much music, but he's always watching sitcoms, he's always watching movies and stuff, and so yeah, I just popped one into the corner. But also in the kitchen, there ends up being a little coffee making machine. Also ends up being a microwave. I then purposely placed down mugs on top of the microwave, but mugs that look like they've been used, like they're actually grimy, like they look like they've got tea or coffee stains on them. Also placed down a plant that looks like it's never been watered and it's seen a better life of day. You know, that plant needs to go in the bin, it needs to be disposed of. But it was a lot of fun. But currently over here, as you can see, I'm just playing about like the little TV sitting room situation. I end up using a sofa that we got from the Basement Treasures kit, and then also the matching armchair, even though it doesn't look like it's meant to be matching, but they were both from the Basement Treasures kit. I then also use a side table that we got from Eco Lifestyle as like the TV console unit. I then popped on another TV onto it, a fish bowl, some gaming controllers, some sort of like red cup that maybe he's been drinking out of. I placed down some fish food as well, because I'm thinking, you got a fish bowl, you need to feed your fish. So I placed down some little like debug fish food. You would have also just seen me place down what I was personally thinking was like takeout menus onto the side of one of the bookcases in the lounge room. In the lounge room, I placed down this really tall, skinny bookcase. We got it from the Discover University expansion pack, but I placed it down, and then on the side of it, I moved objects. This Snowy Escape poster, but in the swatch that I've used it in, to me, it looks like it's some sort of like takeout menu or something. And then you'll have seen on the kitchen counter in front of it, I placed down a Basement Treasures phone. It's meant to be like a landline phone. I'm thinking that's his phone when he calls for his like Chinese takeout or his pizza or whatever he's having for dinner. That's the phone that he uses. It's a small little detail, but I just thought it was really sweet. But over here, as you can see, I'm currently coming in and decorating a little computer desk area. I placed down Baby Yoda onto the floor. Believe it or not, that's a base game item, the little Baby Yoda, instead of like a Journey to Batuu item, because we've got the Journey to Batuu game pack, which is pretty much Star Wars in the sim. Can't lie, never play it. I've literally played it once. I had no idea what was happening. I am not a Star Wars fan. Can appreciate it. I love that for you if you are. My boyfriend is. Me, not my cup of tea. But we do actually have a Baby Yoda statue, and I think Baby Yoda is really cute. Like, he is really cute, and so yeah, I just plopped it down onto the floor. Often forget about that. But anyway, as well as that, I placed down quite a fancy computer onto the computer desk. Maybe where this maintenance guy probably doesn't have like a big social circle. Like he probably doesn't go out that much. He doesn't go to the pub. He doesn't go to like festivals. He doesn't do all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking that he's probably got a lot of money, and where he doesn't really have to pay rent, because I imagine that his friends, like he's really pally with the landlord, he probably has this money that he just bought a gaming PC, so he's got quite a fancy computer. But then you would have seen I just quickly did his bathroom. In his bathroom, I use this StrangerVille shower and bath combo, which I never use that, but it literally looks like the shower is made out of a hose pipe. I think it's because with the StrangerVille game pack, there's some sort of like mystery to unsolve, and if you wanted to, you can get your Sims to like live in a bunker and like hide away from all like this scary stuff that is happening outdoors. Like it's meant to be that kind of idea, but it's not really something that I typically tend to use in like happy little suburban family homes. But for basement apartments, it's absolutely perfect. And so yeah, I decided to use it, the StrangerVille shower and bath combo. Also placed down a little toilet and a sink in there. I tried to make it somewhat grubby and a little bit like unkept. I placed down a debug toothbrush on top of the sink itself, because I'm thinking he doesn't have a toothbrush holder. He just puts it down onto the sink and like calls it a day. I'm pretty sure I also moved objects, some sort of like empty tube of potential toothpaste into his sink or something. But you can see that I'm just coming over and I'm decorating his bedroom. For his bedroom, I decided to go for this base game bed, which I'm not a massive fan of this bed, but I felt like it just went with the rest of the apartment. It also ends up being a little love seat in here. The one that I've used is from the Book Nook kit, and then next to it I popped down a tiny little bookcase, which is also from the Book Nook kit. I then just placed down a little plain aeroplane sculpture on top of it. I then also end up placing down another bookcase in this room. He does have a bedside table, but it's a crate. Like, it's not actually a bedside table. He probably just found it on the side of the road or by the bins or something, and thought, yep, I'll have that. That's going straight in my bedroom. And then also in that room, I ended up making it so he does have a little wardrobe situation, which I could have used one of the get-together wardrobes. You know, the ones where your Sims can actually walk into and they can, like, plan their outfits, and they can, if they want to, they can woohoo or make out with someone in there. I was going to use one of them in his bedroom, but I had already used one in, like, the main sit-in kitchen area, and I just didn't want to be too repetitive. And so I just tried to make my own kind of like little walk-in wardrobe. I placed down some closed decorations onto the wall, and then a normal chest of drawers underneath it, and then just crusted it up with like a random few bits and bobs. And yeah, but anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs apartment. So this is the apartment that I decorated to be for 2 uni students. So in here already, I feel like you can see quite a big change in the apartment, even just like the apartment layout. This one's actually got windows. Downstairs, if he had a window, it was tiny. There was a big-ish one in the bedroom, but for the most part, it's a very like dark and dingy apartment downstairs. It is in the basement, bless him, but this one already I feel like it's just so much more like light and airy, and this is the one that I tried to make a little bit more like clean girl aesthetic. So in here I decided to go for the Home Chef Hustle kitchen counters, cabinet, fridge, and then oven, and then also the wallpaper kind of like behind the little kitchen area. Currently on the floor, I've got this Space Game wooden flooring, which initially I thought was a really good idea, because I'm thinking, right, clean girl aesthetic, I want it to be really light and airy in here. I want it there to be a lot of just lighter colours. And originally I placed down this wooden floor, but as I go throughout the rest of the apartment, I start decorating it, and I just found it really hard to work with this wooden floor. And so you'll see, I end up changing it out to be one that we got from the Jungle Adventure game pack. It's actually my favourite wooden floor that we've got in the game, but it just ties it in so much nicer. But currently over here, as you can see, I'm just coming in and decorating their kitchen. There ends up being a few different shelves above the oven area. I'm thinking each shelf is like for each student. In student house and that kind of thing is very typical anyway in the UK. Like if you was to have cabinets in uni accommodation in the UK, people normally have like their own cabinet space. But I was thinking in this apartment, it's more like each girl has kind of got like their own little shelf. One of them's got like a plant on it, they've also got some spices, the other one's got like a singular mug, and then also some plates and stuff. Also in their little kitchen area, I placed down both a whiteboard onto the wall and then also some post-it notes onto the fridge. I'm thinking maybe it's like a bit of a passive-aggressive note. I changed the bin last time, it's your time to change the bin. Or we ran out of oat milk, I got the last pint, it's now your turn. Go to the convenience store and buy us some more milk, or just something like that. I feel like that's very common in uni accommodation, in the UK anyway. I'm not sure about the US, but normally in UK accommodation, we have some sort of like whiteboard, notice board, just to let everyone else know what's going on. But either way, over here, as you can see, I'm currently coming in and decorating kind of like the little lounge seating area. So in here, I decided to go for the Book Nook Kit 3-seater sofa, which is very quickly becoming my favourite sofa in the game. I just feel like recently I've been using it in like pretty much every single build that I do, and even if I don't use it in like the main lounge sitting room, it'll be in like a teenager's bedroom or just like in like a little side corner area or something. I just really like the Book Nook Kit sofa, and I can't think of what sofa I used to use before it because I feel like I just mainly use this one. To be fair, we are severely lacking in sofas in the game, which I really didn't think we would be almost 10 years into The Sims 4, but I feel like our sofa choices just really ain't cutting it. We really ain't got that many options. I would love if they could just give us, oh, you know the Dream Home Decorator game pack? You know how we've got like sectional sofas, you can make sofas as big or as small as you want? I want some more of them, but I want them to be a little bit more plush, a little bit more comfier. I don't really ever use the Dream Home Decorator ones because I always think they look really uncomfortable to sit on. Maybe that's just me. But I would love something else like that, but then with multiple different swatches of like cream and beige and brown and white and even some funky colours. Like we could have some greens and yellows and oranges in there. I just want some more sofas in the game. I feel like we're severely lacking. But either way, in this lounge room, as you can see, I've now just changed the wooden floor to be the one from Jungle Adventure. It's just such a pretty floor. But in the little TV console area, I ended up placing down this chest of drawers, which I tried to make look like the TV unit. It's from the 4-rent expansion pack, but I found that it just went so perfectly with the bookcase from the Mosquito Stuff pack. I then went into the Mosquito Stuff pack bookcase and cluttered it up with like a record player, a plant, a little basket full of like blankets and pillows underneath it. And then you'll see in the lounge room, I placed down this little like coffee table ottoman looking thing. The one that I've used, I think, is from the high school years expansion pack. It's one of the very few coffee tables that we've got in the game that is actually relatively well sized, because I feel like all the coffee tables that we've got are just absolutely massive. I don't know what it is with the Sims 10, but we seem to have massive objects for things that aren't normally massive, like bedside tables, coffee tables. Why are you so big? Just make it a little bit smaller. But I placed down this little small coffee table, and then you would have seen I placed down some party essentials clutter onto it. Now, like I said, I wanted this apartment to be very much clean girl aesthetic. They're university students. They like to keep everything clean. Like, they've got skincare routines. They wear SPF every single day, but I do also imagine that they like to have like a pint or two after a hard week at uni, and so I'm thinking that they probably have smaller gatherings rather than like big massive parties that get out of hand. And so, you know, on their little coffee table I placed down some like party clutter. Maybe it's like bowls of crisps and, you know, like fizzy drinks and just stuff that you would have, sausage rolls, stuff that you would have at a party is just like plopped down onto the little coffee table unit. But also in that room I placed down a little tiny table and chairs. One of them's got a laptop on it, and so when it came around to decorating the bedrooms, I made it so one of the computer desks don't have a laptop on it, because I didn't want there to be more laptops in this apartment than there is Sims. At the end of the day, they're students. They're not going to have laptops coming out their ears. Like, they're going to, you know, not probably have a lot of money, to be fair. They're students. So yeah, I made it so there is a little laptop onto the dining room table. But currently, as you can see, I've now moved over and I've started decorating the first bedroom in this apartment. Now, this was the bedroom that I was more so thinking is the Sim that really fancies that style influencer Sim that lives in the other apartment. I did try and keep the decorations to be somewhat generic. I was just thinking that maybe this Sim really likes fashion and they really like makeup. So you might notice on their bed, I actually made it look like they were doing their makeup just sitting on their bed in front of the window, which I feel like is very common. Like, you know, sometimes people don't have vanities, but I do my makeup standing up in my bathroom, to be honest with you. It's the best light in my house, but sometimes you don't have like a complete makeup vanity set. But for this Sim in this room, I made it so, yeah, they've got like their little makeup mirror sat on their bed in front of the window so they can kind of get like the natural daylight. Now, I was thinking that this Sim does fancy that style influencer girly that lives in the next apartment over, but I was thinking that maybe it's something where she discovered them on like Simstagram or something. Like I said, I imagine that influencer girl to be quite into fashion, maybe into makeup and stuff, and maybe she came across her on Instagram and then realised, hang on, you're actually my neighbour, you live quite close to me or something. And so maybe they're like friendly with each other and like they say hello to each other. Maybe they're friends, they could be friends, but I don't think that the style influencer girl knows that this girl actually just really fancies the pants of her. But in her bedroom, I just went around and finished it off by placing down a few different decorations onto the walls, a few different prints and stuff. And now coming over, I'm coming in and I'm decorating both of the students' shared bathroom. So in here, I went for the growing together shower and bath combo. I then also matched it with eventually the sink that we also got from growing together, and then just a little base game toilet. Like I've already mentioned, this bathroom is one of the few bathrooms, or even just one of the few apartments within this whole entire complex that has a shower and bath combo. But my idea, like I said, was maybe the other student that fancies the upstairs neighbour, the PT, maybe they purposely don't use it because they want to use the community laundromat, so they can kind of like accidentally run into the PT or something, which is silly. But I feel like if you're just so in love with someone, you kind of go for all different lengths. Like I said, I don't think this sim that he's fancying the upstairs neighbour has ever even probably spoken to him, but I just like the idea that they've just got like this massive crush on them or something. But currently in here, as you can see, I decided to go for this bed that we got from the high school years expansion pack. I then also placed down the same wallpaper that I ended up using in the lounge room. It's kind of like this exposed brick. Initially, when I did the wallpaper and flooring in this apartment, like I said, I went for that initial base game flooring, didn't like it, couldn't work with it. I then changed the flooring, but in some certain like little accent walls here and there, yeah, I decided to place down this brick wallpaper, which I just felt like gave it a little bit more something. I then also ended up adding in this other wallpaper, the one that I've used, which looks like it's got all these different like sparkles and stars and just like space related stuff. That is from the Crystals Creation Stuff pack. It's a really nice wallpaper and it comes in some lovely swatches, but I started to use it in the grey swatch because it kind of matched with the brick wall. And then in here as well, again, like I said, there is another computer desk, but this one doesn't have a laptop on it. I did place down one of them little like art tablet things, you know when your Sims can be like a freelance artist or like graphic designer. I placed down one of them onto this Sims computer desk. I'm thinking in the main like lounge sitting room, I did place down 2 university course textbooks. One of them I think was languages and the other one was something to do with like art history, and so I was thinking maybe that sim wants to be an artist, maybe they want to be a graphic designer or something, and so yeah, I thought it was quite fitting to plop that down into their room. I also ended up placing down actually some posters by their computer desk. It looks like they've potentially drawn them or something, but if way moving on, as you can see, I've now moved upstairs to the last apartment in this complex, and this is the apartment that I tried to decorate for a sim that is a personal trainer. So in here, for this sim, I was trying to figure out why does this sim live in this apartment duplex, because I'm thinking the maintenance guy downstairs, his mate owned the building, he said you can live here for free if you do, if you fix the plumbing and you fix all the electrical issues. I was then thinking that the students that live downstairs, they probably go to the University of Mount Komorebi, they needed some sort of housing. I was then trying to figure out in my mind, why does this PT want to live in the world of Mount Komorebi? And then it came to me, hang on, a massive part of the gameplay with this No Escape expansion pack is your Sims can quite literally climb cliffs. They can go mountain climbing. And then I thought, well, hang on, that's kind of like the perfect reason for why this sim lives here. Maybe their goal in life is to climb the really big mountain in the world of Mount Komorebi, because I'm not sure if many people know this, but there's kind of like a hidden lot within this world. If your Sims go rock climbing enough times, they can get to basically like this high enough skill, and eventually they can take on this mountain excursion and they can climb up to this really tall mountain in the world, which is kind of like a hidden away lot that you can only discover through gameplay. I'm thinking that maybe this sim, where they're so into health and fitness and wellness, maybe like their big lifelong goal is just to climb this massive mountain. Maybe it's like the Sims version of Mount Everest, or maybe it's like the Sims version of Kilimanjaro, like a really big mountain that people put a lot of time and effort into training for. Maybe the Mount Komorebi is like that, and yeah, maybe that's why they moved here. But in this apartment, as you can see, ends up being quite dark in terms of colour scheme, but I wanted to also make it quite modernised in a sense. For the kitchen, I decided to go for these industrial looking base game ones, and then I also decided to pair it with a Home Chef Hustle fridge and then just a base game oven. But then as well in the kitchen, I placed down quite minimal decorations. I didn't want to go over the top, but you can see currently I'm just coming in and just basically finishing up the main lounge sitting area. I found, by the way, in this build, the sofa that I've used, that's from Eco Lifestyle, but I decided to pair it with this armchair, which is from Snowy Escape. literally, you'd think they're in the same set or they're from the same DLC or something, but no. The armchairs from Snowy Escape, and yeah, the three-seater sofas from Eco Lifestyle, but I just feel like the colours in both of them just match really nicely together. But I placed them down in front of the TV area. I then also placed down some sort of like clutter onto the little TV unit underneath the TV. I placed down what I was thinking was like a Lego car. It's just like a regular car that we've got in base game, but I don't know if you've seen it. But Lego have now got like these Porsches or like certain cars that you can build, and they're meant to be like real life cars. I was thinking there was a Lego one. I don't know why, but it was just something that came into my mind when I was decorating that little TV unit. And then also placed down a boxing bag into that room as well. But currently over here, as you can see, I've now moved over into his bedroom. So in here, I decided to go for the industrial loft kit bed, and then I decided to pair it with the matching bedside table. And then on the other side, I put this bookcase, which is from the Book Nook kit. You might notice as well in this apartment, there ends up being a cat tree, more in this bedroom, as well as like a few different like cat bits and bobs like scattered about, because for this apartment on the balcony, I made it so there's a litter box, and then I tried to make it look like there was some sort of like litter bag next to it. You might just be able to see it, so I'm not spinning the camera around, but I placed down, I think it's meant to be animal treats that we got from the Cottage Living expansion pack, but I placed it down thinking it was, you know, like cat litter or stuff. I don't know what it's called. Is it called cat litter? I've never had a cat, I've only ever had dogs, but I placed it down, and then I found some sort of like scooping thing and I placed it down next to it, and so I'm thinking maybe this sim has got a cat, and that's the reason why they've got a massive cat tree in their bedroom. But in here as well, you can see I made it so there's like a little computer desk area. I placed down quite a fancy looking computer onto it. I'm thinking the one that I placed down is like a iMac or something. I never normally tend to use it. It's from this City Living expansion pack, but normally whenever I do computer desk areas, I will either use one that we got from base game as the computer, or one that we got from high school years. But I was thinking, where this sim is so like well kept, very into health and wellness and fitness and stuff, probably got an Apple Watch, probably got a iPad and a pencil, and you know, all like the Apple bits and bobs. And so yeah, I placed down the City Living computer thinking it was one that was sort of like Apple-y. But anyway, as you can see, I'm basically just coming around now and finishing off this apartment. I quickly just did the bathroom, which the bathroom in that apartment ends up only having a shower instead of like a shower and bath combo, only because I didn't want it to like interfere with the windows, and I felt like this sim, they're a PT, they probably more so have quick showers more than like soaking in the bathtub. But then saying that, a massive thing in like health and fitness is when people have ice baths. Couldn't think of anything worse. Honestly, I love a bath, but I love a hot bubble bath, not an ice bath. Honestly, I feel like I'd freeze to death. But anyway, besides that, as you can see, I've now moved on to the final area in this first complex, which is like this upstairs hangout area situation. You would have seen when I was doing like the exterior front portion of the video, when I like, before I move on into the inside, I decorated the outside area. But on the outside, we end up having 2 armchairs. We also end up having a radio boombox situation on top of some crates. Also end up placing down some fairy lights and also some garden planters. I have already come in, by the way, and pre-planted the planters, more so just to make sure that they work, but I'm not really sure who they belong to. They might belong to the students, they might belong to the PT, I'm not sure. I just thought it'd be nice for extra gameplay. And so yeah, I have already pre-planted them. But then also in the actual room itself on the top floor, I just made it so there's a few extra boxes, a few different like storage units, as well as a dartboard. More so just because it gives you something else to do, doesn't it? But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved over into the second building. So this is the building on the left hand side, and I'm currently just coming in and decorating at the convenience store. Now, I must admit, this whole entire first room, which is just the convenience store, your Sims can't really interact with, unless your Sims maybe want to pretend that they own the retail store or something, or maybe if you're someone that plays with mods in your game, then potentially might be a mod where you could have your Sims own the convenience store and then use it as like a retail business and like sell all the individual like bits and bobs, all the bits of clutter that I end up placing down onto these shelving units. But I was just thinking it really fits in nicely with the world of Mount Komorebi, and so yeah, I made it into some sort of like little convenience store. In England, this would just be a Tesco's, but as you can see in here, I have placed down these shelving units, the ones that I've used are from The Sims 4 Get to Work, and then I came in and basically just cluttered them with loads of just random stuff. On one of the first shelving units, you would have seen I kind of played, I don't want to say a joke because it's not funny, but I just feel like if you watch my channel somewhat regularly, you might kind of get the reference. But basically, whenever I seem to clutter up surfaces and I want to auto-fill some sort of clutter spot where like you can normally just slot on some piece of clutter, I always use these pink water bottles. I get so many questions of people asking me, like, why do you always place down water bottles and delete them? Basically, any sort of surface that we've got in the game, whether it be a chest of drawers, a bedside table, kitchen cabinet, no matter what it is, there is always some sort of like auto clutter spot, which is basically where if you want to place down some decorations, they'll kind of like auto slot to it. But me, sometimes I don't want to place down clutter where the auto slots are. I want to place it down freely. I don't want to have to faff and try and rotate it to look a certain way. I just like to freely place clutter. And so normally what I do is I place down these pink water bottles onto any surface. I then get it so there is no auto slot. The clutter won't slot to it, and then I can kind of freely place the clutter on top of it. And then once I place the clutter freely, I then go in and delete it. I use these in pretty much every single video, and it's actually really funny because up until this point I don't think I've really used it so far, like this little method of cluttering up, but you'll see it in some of the other apartments for sure. But basically, when I was decorating the shelving units in this convenience store, I just thought it'd be really funny if I placed down the water bottles, because normally I place them down and I delete them, but this time around I place them down as actually something that your Sims could pretend to buy. I also end up placing down like toilet roll and then some sort of like cleaning supplies. I end up placing down things which are meant to be fertilizers in the game. We got them from the Cottage Living expansion pack, but there's a few different swatches of them, and I always think they look like cans of soup. So I placed down some like pretend fertilizers thinking they were cans of soup, and then also placed down like some bird feeder, which kind of looks like cereal to me, and so I was thinking maybe it's cereal boxes. I placed down some random spices. I placed down like laundry detergent. I was just trying to make it so it was like a regular little convenience store. You know, if you need to, you can go and get your bog roll in there. If you want to, you can also go and get a packet of crisps. Like, I just tried to make it so it's got a range of different household appliances on them shelving units. But also in that room as well, I ended up placing down 2 refrigerators, the ones that I've used from Get to Work. I didn't really want to use them ones because they are quite small, but you would have seen I ever so slightly sized them up in between one of the doors, and it looks like it's fully stocked. I then also end up placing down some sort of like signs and like a little cone and something that I imagine would be a mop if ever there's a spillage in the convenience store. But currently over here, as you can see, I have now moved over into the laundromat. So in here, I just placed down 3 washing machine and tumble dryers, the ones that kind of like stack upon each other. And then I end up placing down some sort of like cork board. Maybe it's like if you want a plumber or if you want someone, I was about to say someone to cut grass, but we're in apartments, you ain't got any grass. Just some sort of like community board, which if anyone needs a helping hand, there's all sorts of people lending helping hands on that community board. And it also looks like it's got some sort of like numbers to call. Maybe it's got like the local takeout menus on it, or maybe business advertised on there, or for like cleaning services, or I don't know. I just felt like it went in a laundromat, and so I just popped it down. And then also placed down like a little chair in the corner. I placed down a few different signs onto the walls. But now, as you can see, I've now moved over into the community gym. Really struggled with this gym, I'm not gonna lie to you, because I didn't want it to feel too modern. I still wanted it to kind of go with the rest of the apartments and kind of like the theme of not being like the most modern, up-to-date, high-tech kind of apartment, but we don't really have that many low budget gym equipment options in the game. I did end up using quite a lot of these wall decals on the walls. The ones that I've used are from the Growing Together expansion pack. I don't think I've used this in a build yet, but it comes in 3 different swatches. There's one of a sim doing what looks to me anyway to be some sort of like ab workout, and so I tried to make like a little dedicated area for maybe if your sim really wants to work on their core, you know, they want to get a 6-pack or something. And so in the corner I placed down the one of a sim that looks like they're doing some sort of sit-ups in front of a little yoga mat. I then also placed down some more yoga mats as kind of like decorations behind it, as well as some more kettlebells. There's also a wall decal of a sim that looks like they're skipping, which I placed down behind some treadmills. And then the final decal that I used, it looks to be a sim that's doing some sort of like lunge with a kettlebell, and I just placed it down behind that. I never know what the terminology of it is, so if you know, please tell me. But it's that thing that your Sims can do in the game when they work out, and they can do like leg raises, but then they can also work their arms as well. It's like multi-use. It works multiple different areas of Sims' bodies. Don't know what it's called, but I placed down another decal kind of behind that as well. But anyway, as you would have just quickly seen, I just did the little tiny mail room. The way that this building was kind of built, your Sims, their front door is kind of like on a staircase, because one of like the main like features of the outside is, if you just look at it, to get into each one of the individual apartments, your Sims have to kind of go up a staircase, and the door is on the level that the staircase is on. And so when it came round to have like a mailbox or something, I didn't really know where to put it, and so I thought I'll just make a nice little mail room. And so that's exactly what I did. It's very like to the point. It's got some mailboxes in there, as well as some letters on the floor that no one's bothered to actually put into the postal boxes. But currently, as you can see, I've now come over and I've started decorating the first apartment in this complex, which is the one that I decorated to be for a grandma who lives here with her teenage granddaughter. So for this apartment, if you wanted to, you could definitely have a set of grandparents both live here. I was just liking the idea of a single grandma who maybe her husband passed away or something, and she's been living here for a few years on her own, and then ever so recently her teenage granddaughter had to move in with her. Maybe something happened, maybe her parents passed away, or maybe they had to move away to a different world for a job or something, and maybe their granddaughter is originally from Mount Komorebi and just didn't want to leave her friends behind or something. But I really liked the idea of the grandma just really fancying the maintenance man, but the maintenance man wants absolutely nothing to do with that, because he is just the guy that fixes the plumbing. He's the guy that fixes things when they go wrong. He doesn't want to entertain this thing that this grandma just fancies him. I imagine that she often asks him if he wants to have a cup of tea in her apartment and just stuff like that, and maybe purposely breaks things so he can come over and she can spend some time with him or something. But in here, I wanted it to look like it was a grandma's apartment, but I didn't want to go too traditional, and I was kind of struggling when it came around to figuring out the wallpaper, which one I was going to go for, because originally I was going to go for this base game one, which looks like it's got some sort of like wall like mounted panelling on the bottom portion and then flowers on the top, but it looks like a bit of a dated wallpaper. And normally whenever I do builds that are meant to be a little bit more old-fashioned, decorating like the 60s or 70s or something, I'll more so use that wallpaper. And so I didn't want to use in here because I feel like from the exterior this looks to be quite a modern and new-ish building. And so in the end I decided to go for the wallpaper that I always refer to in my head as the Marmite wallpaper, which I just thought, is Marmite a thing in the US? I know you got Vegemite in Australia. I'm pretty sure that's a thing, but Marmite in the UK is a very popular condiment. Actually, I say popular. The thing is, the reason why I call this a Marmite wallpaper is because the thing with Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. And for me, with this wallpaper, I feel like people either absolutely love this wallpaper, like me, or you really despise this wallpaper. For a long time, I must admit, I didn't like this wallpaper, but one day something changed and I just love this wallpaper now. It's so leery and I think it's just so perfect. But in here, as you can see, I decided to go for quite base game traditional looking kitchen counters. I then decided to use a sofa that we got from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. I then also used a Get Famous rug on the floor. The one that I've used, it looks like it's a little bit more worn, a little bit more rugged. I'm thinking I still want to make it seem like a little bit more like an older apartment, but I just don't want to have older looking wallpaper. And so instead of having like old wallpaper, I tried to go for like more older looking furniture items. And so yeah, I decided to use the Get Famous rug that looks like it's seen a better day. But then also in here I placed down a little cat tree, I placed down a little like TV console unit, I used like a retro TV, and then in the corner I ended up placing down a round table. The one that I've used is from the Horse Ranch expansion pack, and then I used it with the matching chairs to kind of go around it. I then also cluttered up the top of the table with like some flowers, some books, some sort of like little candle decoration, and then by the front door, as you would have seen, there was some sort of like decals on the front door, because the door that I've used for each of one of these apartments, it's from the Discover University expansion pack, but annoyingly, and it really irritates me when the Sims do this, annoyingly, that beautiful swatch of the door only has swatches with stickers on it. Now the thing is, and I'm very much aware, I could have just used a different front door for each one of these apartments, but annoyingly that front door that I've used in both this apartment and the rest of the apartments in this complex, it's the only one that we've got in the game that's got a little peeping hole. You know, like if you live in an apartment, it's very common to have some sort of like little peeping hole, so if someone's knocking at your front door, you can have a quick little check who it is. You don't want to answer your door to a stranger. And so I'm thinking that's the most perfect door for these apartments. But when I actually came in, I started doing the wallpaper and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be an issue, isn't it? So I had to find stuff to basically cover over the stickers. I ended up placing down this wall decoration that we got from the Everyday Clutter Kit, as well as some like hanging bags. But then when it came around to playtesting this lot, I realised, and I also remembered, that that decoration from the Everyday Clutter Kit that looks like it's got some sort of like letters and some like keychains hanging off it is very buggy. Now, what I mean by that is normally if you place down posters or any sort of like hanging wall decoration onto either a door or just something that your Sims would walk through, Your Sims can normally just walk through it, no hassle whatsoever. But I remembered that actually the one that I've used from the Everyday Clutter Kit is a faff in your Sims. For some reason they cannot walk through it. So when I was playtesting, my Sim couldn't get upstairs into the apartment. I was thinking, well, the staircase works, what's your problem? I then remembered, no, it's the Everyday Clutter Kit wall decoration. And then I remembered, fairly recently, I built some British terraced houses. I placed down that wall decoration quite close to the staircase in one of the builds, and to cut a very long story short, because honestly I was pulling my hair out, I found out that you can't place down that wall decoration near a set of stairs. Even if it doesn't even overlap it, your Sims won't walk up the stairs. How does that make any sense? I don't know. But anyway, I had to remove the Everyday Clutter Kit wall decoration. I just ended up replacing it with another decoration. I can't remember what it was, but I ended up replacing it, don't worry. But you'll see that I also ended up placing it down in the upstairs apartment as well. I ended up replacing that one with something else, but that is a different story for the next apartment. Currently, as you can see, I just did the bathroom in this apartment as well as the grandma's room, and now I'm moving over and I've started decorating the teenager, who I imagine is a massive fangirl and is really into anime. So in here, I imagine that this teenage girl really fancies her upstairs neighbour, who I was thinking would be a university student, but I also imagine she's got the personality of like a typical fangirl, you know, would go to every single event of every single pop band that she likes, and she would go to every single meetup, and she would wait outside for hours and hours. And I just imagine that she's really into anime and then kind of like K-pop kind of music, and I tried to get that point across within the decorations in her room. I placed down this bed, which is from the High School Years expansion pack, and I was really gritting my teeth when I placed it down because I love the bed swatch, not a fan of the bed frame. Like the bed frame colour, I just wish it was a little bit lighter of a wood, like it's a bit of an orangey wood, and it's just, I don't mind it, but with the rest of the room, it doesn't really go, and it was kind of like, do I just change the bed or do I keep it? I do end up keeping it, but it was just one of them situations where I really wish we could change the bed frame colour and then just have different duvet cover swatches, because the thing is, there is so many different beautiful beds in the game that I'd never use because I either don't like the bed frame or I don't like the duvet cover that's on it. But either way, in here, as you can see, I end up placing down a shelf above their bed that looks like it's got loads of different like figurines, and I'm thinking it's like some sort of merchandise and stuff. I then also end up placing down some posters onto the walls. I then placed down a little chest of drawers which you got from Parenthood, but I use it in a swatch that looks like it's got some sort of cherry blossom. I just thought it was really pretty. But then also in this room as well, I placed down a little armchair in a swatch which I don't think I've ever used before, but it looks like it's got some sort of like anime character on it. I just thought it was so fitting for this room. I then also placed down a few different lantern lights in here, as well as a salt lamp. I then also end up placing down a mirror in the corner, and you'll see that there is a microphone next to it. I'm thinking they want to pretend that they're like these K-pop stars and stuff, and they put on their little record player and they dance in front of the mirror. But then when I was decorating this bedroom, I was thinking, is that microphone likely to be usable? I feel like it might not be, and so I do end up deleting that microphone. But I mean, if you want to, you could definitely just try and fit it in and add it back into the room. But also in this room, there ends up being a walk-in wardrobe. The one that I've used is from the Growing Together expansion pack. I really wish at one point in the future we'll get some more of them walk-in wardrobes where your Sims can actively walk into them, and if they want to, they can like woohoo other Sims in them and stuff. But I really would like them in some different options, in some different styles. Currently, we only have 3 or potentially 4, and they're all from Get Together, but I feel like I just want some more of them, a little bit more modernised ones maybe. But either way, besides the point, as you can see, moving over, I have now moved on to the next apartment, which is the apartment that I decorated for a Sim who I was thinking is a bit of a fashion girly. So you'll see me pull out this wall decoration that we've got from Snowy Escape, and it looks like it's meant to be some sort of like hanging tapestry kind of thing. It's really beautiful. It looks like it's got swatches of like a tiger on it. There's one of a bamboo. There's one of mountains in the distance. On the back of this Sims front door, that ends up replacing them Everyday Clutter Kit decorations. This is once I figured out that actually I can't place them onto the back of the front door, which I need to make a mental note of that, because I ran into problems before with it previously, and I just don't know why, I just didn't remember. But either way, in this apartment, it ends up being quite feminine, but I really like it. And I must admit, if I was going to play in any of these apartments, this is probably the one that I'm going to end up playing in, because I'm actually thinking I might end up using this build myself in my own personal gameplay. To cut a very long story short, I'm currently doing a super sim challenge with myself, where I basically get a sim to achieve absolutely everything that is possible within the game. And one of the things I've kind of given myself, apart from this challenge, is I want my sim to live in every single one of the worlds, and I feel like this apartment would just be, yeah, perfect for like a single sim. But either way, besides the point, in here, as you can see, I decided to go for these kitchen counters, which is from the Cottage Living expansion pack. I then decided to pair it with this fridge that we got from the Country Kitchen kit. Do you know what? I feel like I owe this fridge an apology because she's so beautiful. But ever since we had the Cottage Living expansion pack, if ever I wanted to go for this more like cottage kind of style kitchen, I always tend to use the fridge that we've got from Cottage Living, and I always forget about the Country Kitchen one. But when we first got the Country Kitchen kit, that was a big use in my game. I use it in pretty much every single build, but nowadays, yeah, I just never seem to use it. But I felt like it was perfect for this apartment, and so I decided to use it in here. You would have also seen I decided to make it so there is some interior windows in this apartment as well. The one that I've used is from the Mosquito pack. It's kind of like a short little square open window, and pretty much there was just going to be like a blank wall there, and I thought, well, why not just make it a little bit lighter in here? And so yeah, on one of the walls I made it so where the kitchen sink is, there's actually just a window. It just looks out into the lounge area, but I just thought it was nice. It adds a little bit of extra decoration. But as well, in this apartment I ended up making it so there is a tiny little dining room area. I placed down a dining room table which we got from the Forerunner expansion pack, but then I matched it with these chairs that we got from Dream Home Decorator. They've got a very similar wood tone on like the legs of the chairs that match the table, but then the chairs themselves look like they're pink and fluffy. It was just so perfect for the sim that I was imagining to live here. But in this apartment I had this really weird little like bump out in the floor plan. It was just the way that I built the apartment on the exterior, but I didn't want to like block it off, and I didn't want to make it so it was like a not used area. And so I tried to basically style it out by placing down a platform and then making it to be some sort of shelving area situation. I end up placing down some sort of like head bust, and then a few different decorations like a plant, some little like candle trays, a couple of different pillows. I just basically tried to style it out to make it look like it was meant to be there. It's meant to be intentional, but to be honest with you, I just didn't know what to do with it. You could, if you wanted to, make this apartment so two Sims live here, or you've got 2 bedrooms, and then if I was you, I'd probably turn that little nook into some sort of like little study area, maybe like a little computer desk or something. But for this apartment, I was picturing that this single sim lives by herself, and so she just decided to use a spare bedroom as her apartment. But in here, as you can see, I decided to go for this sofa that we got from the Growing Together expansion pack. But whenever I use this sofa, I always disguise the pillows because I'm not a massive fan of some of the pillows that we've got on the sofa swatches. I just use this pillow that we got from the Modern Luxe kit and basically size it up and rotate it ever so slightly just to disguise the pillows that come with the sofa. I then also decided to pair the sofa with this armchair that we got from the Modern Luxe kit, and then also in the lounge room we end up having like a really nice glass table in the middle, and up placing down at some sort of little coffee mug tray thing that we got from the Book Nook kit. Also end up placing down a little decoration like a little plant. There's also like a little TV console area. I placed down the TV onto the side table that we got from the Growing Together expansion pack. It doesn't really match with the rest of the apartment in terms of the style, but I kind of liked it, and so I decided to place it down, and then also finish that room off by placing down a fluffy rug. But now moving over, I've started decorating this apartment's bathroom. I also forgot to mention, you're going to see I mean, you've already seen the majority of them so far, but you'll see in every single apartment's separate bathroom. Normally, whenever I do any sort of build, whether it be multiple different apartments like this, or whether it be like a family home that's got multiple different bathrooms, normally I only ever show the furnishing for one. But with this apartment, I tried to actively make it so every single bathroom and every single space was decorated differently, and so I felt like it was quite important to keep in the footage for everything. I pretty much didn't cut anything out of this whole entire build. The only one small little tiny area that I did decide to cut out was, you know, the PT's apartment. There's a tiny little space outside of his front door. That's the only little section that I cut out. Apart from that, I pretty much kept in all the footage. That is hence the reason why this build is so long. It took me a really long time, but yeah, I really hope you're enjoying it. But either way, moving over, as you can see, in the bathroom, I ended up placing down a shower and bath combo, as well as a tumble dryer and a washing machine. I also tried to make somewhat of like a nice fancy sink unit. I ended up placing down some makeup onto it, a nice little like candle plant situation. But now I'm coming in and decorating her bedroom. So in here, from the offset, I knew that I wanted to use this bed that we got from the Modern Luxe kit. It was just so perfect for this sim and how I envisioned them in my head. Now, I was thinking that they could be a style influencer. Like, I imagine that they're really big on Instagram. But the only thing is, I didn't place down the fashion influencer board that we got from the Sims 4 base game. Only reason being, the actual board itself It's really boring. It's basically just like this blank board that your Sims in gameplay will stick things onto, but if it hasn't got anything on it, it's not the most appealing thing to look at. And so in this build, I didn't end up placing it down. I ended up placing down a board that looks somewhat similar to it. We got it from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and you'll see I'll place it down into her little home office situation. But if you did want to play out with this storyline of this Sim being an influencer, you might want to pop down that board somewhere in the apartment. I feel like there's plenty of wall space, you can definitely find somewhere for it, but yeah, I did just want to mention that. But either way, in her bedroom, I ended up placing down 2 wardrobes that we got from the Vintage Gather stuff pack. I did try and attempt to use the ones that we got from Dream Home Decorator. You know, the ones that you can kind of like make, almost like IKEA Pax wardrobe-esque, if you get my drift, if you're following along with me. But I don't really like the swatches of the furniture that came from Dream Home Decorator. It's just not my favourite thing to use. And so, yeah, I decided to opt for some wardrobes that we got from the Vintage Glamour stuff pack. But currently, I'm just coming in and basically finishing off her apartment by decorating her little home office area. So in here, I use a desk which I think off memory is from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, I think. And then on top of it, I placed down a Dream Home Decorator game pack board. Now that was my version of the fashion influencer board, because the one we got from Dream Home Decorator, it's not interactable, like your Sims won't interact with it, but it has looked like it's got some sort of like swatches, and it looks like it's got different designs in it. And so I thought it was kind of fitting for her apartment. I then also placed down what I was thinking again was some sort of like Apple iMac computer onto her computer desk. And then also in that room I placed down a little fuzzy footstool actually underneath her computer desk. I've been doing this a lot recently. I don't know if you've noticed this, if you maybe watch me regularly, but often recently in my Sims computer desk setups, I've been placing down little footstools underneath their desk, because me personally, I'm actually on the hunt for one myself. I really want to get some sort of like little footstool for my feet to sit at when I'm sitting at my desk, because currently as I'm talking to you right now, really bad for my posture, I know, but I'm actually just sitting with my legs crossed. Like I've got one of them, like, I don't want to say it's a bubble chair, it's just from IKEA, but I've got one of these chairs where you can kind of sit cross-legged, and it's really bad. But when I sit, both when I film plus when I'm chatting to you right now, I just sit with my legs crossed, and I need to stop it. So I'm on the hunt to find some sort of like little desk stool to put underneath my PC setup. And yeah, recently I've just noticed I've started doing it in my own Sims builds, because it's something that I'm personally on the lookout for. But either way, besides the point, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the final apartment within this whole entire apartment complex, and it's the one that I decorated for a big family in this small little compact space. So in here, for this apartment, the kitchen is literally as you walk in through the front door, but it was kind of the best layout I found anyway for the amount of Sims that were going to be able to walk about in this apartment. So you're literally walking through the front door. On the back of this front door, I ended up placing down a broom that is from Laundry Day. You can kind of see some of the stickers on the actual door itself coming through, but I feel like for this apartment, it's actually not the worst thing in the world if you can kind of see some of them decorations on the actual door frame. But in the kitchen, I decided to use the 4 rent counters. I then decided to use a separate oven and stove thing. The ones that I've used are from the Dream Home Decorator game pack. I then also popped a little Parenthood board into the kitchen, and then for the seating area, I was originally going to have some sort of like half wall separating the kitchen from like the rest of the living space, but when I was trying to figure out the layout for like the TV sofa area, I then decided to basically draw a bit of a wall so then I could have the coffee table or like the TV console table on that wall. But then with that, it was like half wall, bit of a gap, and then a full wall. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make it into a whole wall. And that's exactly what I did. And then I just popped a little archway in between it. But then that way as well, actually, we have a little like serving hatch window. I have done this before, and I feel like in a lot of older UK houses, this is very common. But sometimes you just have like a little serving hatch window to pop through from the kitchen into like a dining room area. I imagine that the Sims, when they make the dinner of a night time, one of the parents is cooking, and then yeah, just opens a little hatch, and then they can push through their dinner. Also, I was very aware that there wasn't going to be enough seats at the dining room table to house all members of his Sims family. And so I don't know if you noticed, but on the little coffee table by the sofa, I placed down 2 debug microwave dinners onto the ottoman. I'm thinking 2 of them sit at the table when they're eating their dinner of a night time, but the other 3 of them sit at the sofa and watch the telly. There isn't enough space in this apartment. It's very compact, it's very small, but I actually really like it. But anyway, as you can see, moving over, I'm just quickly coming in and finishing up this bathroom. Now, initially when I did the floor plan, I did forget to add in the floor tiles for the bathroom. So you would have seen when I first came in, I didn't even really notice it. I was furnishing the bathroom to have wooden floor, which actually, is that a thing? Can people... I've never been in a bathroom that's got wooden... I've been in a bathroom that's got carpet, but I've never been in a bathroom that's got wooden floor. I feel like that's probably a thing, but either way, I just switched over to be a tile. But where there is such a big family in this house, I wanted them to have somewhat of a spacious bathroom, so I ended up using another shower and bath combo. I did extend it a little bit, ever so slightly, because originally it was only going to be 3 tiles by 2 tiles, but where it is such a big family, I did decide to extend it out. There is also a little toilet in there, as well as like a little sink area. And then currently at the minute, I'm just coming in and decorating the parents' bedroom. This bedroom ends up having a cottage living bed in this like blue plain swatch, which off memory, I don't think I've ever used that before, but the parents' bedroom have a little balcony. And if you go out into their balcony, there is a live edit clothes hanging line, which is from the Island Living expansion pack. It kind of like goes over the balcony. I'm thinking this family probably doesn't have a ton of money in the bank, and so if they can, they're going to try and save money where they can possible. And so instead of going downstairs and using the laundromat, they're going to wash their clothes in the little wash tub that plays down onto their balcony, but then they pretend dry them on the live edit little hanging clothesline. Your Sims can't actually interact with it. If you do actually want your Sims to dry their washing, they will have to use the laundromat, but if you wanted to, you could probably just replace the live edit one and replace it with the one that we got from Laundry Day. But either way, as you can see, I'm now coming over and pretty much just finishing up this bedroom. To be honest, I was quite surprised with myself, because out of 6 apartments, there only ends up being 1 kid's bedroom within this whole entire lot. But in there I end up placing down a bunk bed, or like a set of bunk beds. There's also like a little doll's house, there's also a teddy bear, as well as like a tiny little wardrobe. But now I'm moving over to the last room in this house. You're going to see me quickly just go back to the exterior, but this is the bedroom that I decorated to be for potentially a university student. I tried to use a lot of university decor in here. Like I placed down a university course book. I think the one that I use is one for biology off memory, but I just tried to get the point across somewhat in the decorations that this sim isn't really a teenager. They're more so like a young adult. They're in uni, but this family, they haven't got a ton of money to be able to send their kid off into some sort of student accommodation. So yeah, they're a uni student that lives at home. But other than that, I'm going to go around the build, pretty much just finish it off by adding them final touches on the exterior, but that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys.